Hello, everybody. Welcome to Adobe Live. I'm Spencer Nugent, Jamaican-born illustrator and designer based in Salt Lake City, Utah. And this is the last episode of my 8-part series where I've been taking you through some design principles and designing a poster. Now it's time to apply some final elements as well as layout to wrap this poster project up. For each of my characters that I created for this 26-character alphabet poster, I went ahead and assigned some adjectives for each of them. The first thing I want to do is create a background for my poster. I don't want it to have a plain white background, so take the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle for whatever your design is. And you can either rearrange elements on the same layer or simply create a new layer. We're going to call this background color. And now I can drag this background color to the bottom, and you should have the background on the very bottom layer. If your rectangle is not quite there yet, notice this little square. That just means that I forgot to assign it to the correct layer. So I'm going to click and drag down, and now my background color should be behind everything. Depending on what you do or the vibe you want to go after, you can then play with the color here. Remember, Adobe Color is a great resource for you, or you can simply click and poke around and find something that works well with your design. And I'm kind of liking this yellow color that I picked here. Next, lock your layer, zoom in, and let's see if we can find a typeface for these adjectives that I've assigned to each character. With the text selected on the appropriate layer, select this drop down, and then we can scroll through different typefaces. And I'm thinking of something simple and clean, but something that has a bit of personality to it as well. And I'm really liking this Haas round black typeface. Now that I have my typeface selected, we can see how this pairs with the design. It may take you a few rounds, but eventually you can find something that might have the right personality for you. Another thing I want to add to my poster is just a small border. To make a border on this poster, with the background here selected, go to Object, Path, Offset Path. And I'm going to go inward by ½ inch, -0.5, hit enter, and now I have this border. And now I'm going to assign white to this border color that I initially had. And for my outline here, I'm just going to use a very light gray, and this is going to allow me to cut on paper after I print my design. Let's remove the stroke on the yellow as well, lock our layer, and now we have a preview of what this alphabet poster design might be. Now that I've inset this a little bit, so let's make some transformations as well. Select everything, including the text, and scaling in just a little bit makes this feel a little better on the page itself. If you need to make any adjustments along the way, you can always do that. Sometimes a character might be a little bit off, and I might need to make an optical adjustment. So using the direct select tool, I'm going to move up this letter B so that there's enough breathing room between the bottom of the character and the text below. A quick check here, and everything feels pretty good. Be sure to take some time to pause and look at your design as you're working. Sometimes when you work really fast, you can miss those little details that might make a difference in the end. For the title of the poster, I want to use a display font or display typeface. And I'm thinking of something maybe a bit funky, inspired by hip-hop, black culture. Let's start by just typing up some concepts for the text. The ABCs of design. We can start here, just place our text, and maybe have a line separating this text and some other elements that I might put underneath. Select everything and scale holding shift until you have your elements in a place that works with your design. I always try to zoom out a bit as well when I'm working, because it's a bit like taking a step back from your work if you're working in real life. This way you can kind of get a feel for the overall composition as opposed to being so zoomed in on the details that might throw the whole thing off. Some quick adjustments here to our lines, including line weight. I like the rounded edges for my stroke, and let's go with maybe 4 points for my stroke. I want to include some elements on the page, so I'm going to draw a text box here and include my name, my Instagram handle, and maybe my website. Adjusting the size of the typeface and also the justification is really easy just using these buttons on your toolbar. Sometimes when I'm exploring a typeface and the look and feel, I like to make copies of it, and then I can play with the typeface here by just scrolling over the examples in our dropdown. I now have a variety of type expressions that I can play with for the caption on my poster. select the placeholder text on the poster, and you can cycle through using the eyedropper by selecting any of these text samples that you have put together. And this is a quick way of just previewing what the design would look like with that particular text sample. I'm really digging this serif rounded, almost 70s classic vibe that Decoy is giving me, so I'm going to stick with this one. Small transformation here to get it in line with my line here, and the rest of the text, I will space this out. To space the lines in the text, open your character window and you can adjust the leading, and scrolling will give you a preview of what that might look like. If you do want to emphasize something like your name, you can always select just that text and size it accordingly to what you want. As far as aligning goes, sometimes I will align with the vertical element of the first letter, or I will align with the absolute width of the character. It's really up to you depending on your design, and I'm going to go with the vertical element for mine. Now that I have my name in place and my website, I can make a couple more adjustments to the size here just to make sure that these feel a little bit more justified. And for the final element of my poster, I want to include some small quote or blurb of text, maybe something that is important to me. I'm going to include the phrase, "Passion is the process. Love is the reason. Joy in the journey." As a reminder that I do this out of love, and I do this for my joy, and I love making sure that people are happy because of the things that I create. And that's just a personal mantra of mine that I like to bring into any design process. Sometimes it takes a bit of playing with your design, but eventually you come up with something that works for you. Don't be afraid to explore and make messes and mistakes until you find something that just clicks and goes together. And that includes changing even the text layout again and again until you find what you want. We're going to take a look at the drop shadow tool. Select your text, and if you want to organize, put it on a new layer and we can lock the text. And now select your characters or some element on your poster that you want to add an effect to. That's under Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow. And with the Drop Shadow tool, I can add some depth to these flat vector items. I have the opportunity to select the opacity, the offset, and blur. So I'm going to set my opacity to 35%, and let's switch our X offset so that the shadow is going to the left. And I'm going to up my blur to 0.78, just a random value there. We have a preview. And if you want to lower the offset, just pick a smaller number and you'll see that the shadow is updated. So now when I zoom in on my poster, I have this lovely shadow that is interacting with the background color of the poster. All right, and that's it. Hopefully you've learned a few things along the way. I had fun as always, and I encourage you to get messy, experiment, try a few new things. And if you find something interesting, share it with somebody. Sharing is one of the best ways that you can teach yourself and become better at what you do. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We have more amazing content coming your way. I'm easy to find online. I am at sketchaday.com on Instagram, or you can visit my website at sketchaday.com. Just don't forget the hyphens. Keep creating, keep doing, keep moving, and keep finding your inspiration everywhere you are. I've been honored to be able to spend this time with you, and I hope to see you here again on the channel. All right, everybody, take care.